Hi, I'm Gini Graham Scott, and I'd like to show you why I make a great guest, participant, or host on your program. As you'll see on this tour, I have a very diverse background. Among other things, I'm a speaker, workshop and seminar leader, and the author of over 40 books. These are on all sorts of topics, everything from pop culture and crimes in the news to business and professional success books. And here's me leading one of my workshops. I'm also media savvy since I've been on dozens of TV programs and hundreds of radio shows. I even hosted a talk radio show for 2 years. And the media frequently calls me to comment on recent crimes and social trends. For example, here's how I might be a host or panelist on your program.
These dog shows, and when I went around the dog show, people just loved to pose.
I've been a teacher at over a dozen colleges and universities, teaching everything from anthropology and sociology to marketing to privacy and psychological profiling. I do speaking, workshops, and seminars for different groups. Mostly I talk about improving relationships and becoming more creative.
So first I want to talk a little bit about how do you become more creative in the workplace. One thing is to use your powers of visualization, your powers of concentration, to visualize what it is you want to have happen in your life. And if you concentrate on that, it'll kind of generate new powers and energies. Then brainstorming or intuition can be used for choosing alternatives. So you've got everything out there. A lot of times you use a rational process for choosing alternatives, but you can also use your intuition to choose, what feels right for you, what in your gut feels like the thing to do. So what I try to do in this book is say, here are different possibilities. This might be a good way to go in this particular situation, but maybe it's not the best way. And it's also a way of getting a discussion going, using the book as a way of having conversations. And if you can relate to a particular story in the book, then you use that as a way of understanding how you can apply it in your own situation. One of the ways you can use this is in thinking about putting work groups together, or how well you work with other people, or even how well you're going to work in a particular organization. Then brainstorming or intuition can be used for choosing alternatives. So you've got everything out there. A lot of times you use a rational process for choosing alternatives, but you can also use your intuition to choose, what feels right for you, what in your gut feels like the thing to do. How do you resolve conflicts in the workplace? You start with getting rid of the emotions, dealing with those first. You want to get those out of the way, because if you have feelings of emotions, really strong feelings towards somebody else, you can't solve a conflict. The second part is dealing with the R, which is the reason. And that is, you want to think about what it is that's interfering with that problem. Another thing you want to think about is also the different ways of dealing with that conflict. So you want to use those different strategies. It's like having a repertoire of techniques that you use in dealing with a conflict, and you choose among them what's the most appropriate. And the third step about this model is using your intuition. And that's a way of dealing with what is occurring, where you just intuitively get a sense of what to do in that situation. You also use that for coming up with alternatives. And what ERI stands for is the E stands for the emotions, R stands for the reason, and I stands for the intuition. There are 5 different major approaches, and different people have different styles of dealing with conflict. One is the more confrontive approach. Somebody who's in a power position can use that and get away with it, but if you're not in a power position, it's a good way to get fired. Another approach is compromise, where you give a little, the other person gives a little, and then there's the collaborative approach, where it's a really important issue, you want to spend time, and you want to get everything out on the table, and then finally there's this avoidance, where you simply walk away and take time. This is a model that I developed after interviewing about 24 people who are primarily business and professional people. People have different ethical approaches under different circumstances. So you may have this ethical conflict where you put yourself first, you put your family first. So that's like your personal zone. Then the next zone around you is your family, you get to the workplace, you get to the society as a whole. And people will be different in different situations. Are you more pragmatic in situations, or are you more of a moralist? So the moralist is going to choose what they have been taught is right, whereas the pragmatist is going to look at what is practical in this situation, what's going to work for the most people. And I have a model that I developed. I talk about it in my book. And what you want to do is to think about these different areas of dealing with a conflict and then use those to deal with that particular issue. Your orientation deals with whether you're oriented towards yourself or towards other people in your making your decision. And your attitude towards rules is how you want to follow the rules or you want to make your own rules. And your zones of action refer to where you want to deal with this ethical conflict. Do you want to deal with it in your own personal life, or do you want to deal with it with other people? There are techniques that I go into in terms of perceiving when somebody is lying to you, when they're being honest or not, and then you decide what it is you want to do about it. Well, there are a couple of things you can do with it. I mean, one thing is if you're in an office situation where there are other people and you're having a meeting, is to find some way to let other people know that you've done this work. If you could tell me a little bit about this issue that you've had at work with this difficult client, and maybe we can come up with some solutions and alternatives for how to deal with this person.
Yeah, okay. Well, they're generally a good client, but they've been no-showing occasionally.
Yeah. I think that maybe by giving them some advance notice, reminding them that this is the policy, and that you either have to charge them or you won't be able to see them again.
I also have set up a dozen businesses, from designing games to connecting writers with publishers and agents and entrepreneurs with venture capitalists. Here are some games I designed. One of the most successful was Glasnost, about U.S.-Russian friendship. There was even a Glasnost calendar with my photos. And here are some examples of a typical day. I'm working in my office. I'm being interviewed about what I do for a video and TV program. I'm heading off for a meeting in my car, in my favorite color, red. And on the side, I write songs, everything from country and pop to gospel and novelty songs.
Truth about the lion, it seems easy to do. Act real cool and no one will know. Well, you can't get there if you're living a lie. It'll pull you down no matter how you try. 'Cause I'm a nighttime man in a daytime job, so it's sure hard to get ahead. I get to work and it feels like night, 'cause I'd sure like to go to bed. Some say take this job and shove it, but not me. I want a job. I want a job.
I'm also great at coming up with ideas and thinking on my feet. So as you can see, I'd make an interesting guest, participant, or host on your show. I'm diverse, creative, exciting, and fun. For more information about me, you can visit my websites. I have more than 20 for my various books and projects. And see lots more about me at GiniGrahamScott.com, or contact me through my company at Changemakers.